So we just arrived to the Iroquois lock. So we just land on the dock, and Lexi, she's on the phone with the Seaway people. There she is. Just to find out what's the schedule, how much, $30 per lock.
I'm not sure why this is, but you never have the video camera rolling and you never get pictures of the most interesting stories. Usually because they're a surprise and you never expect them to happen. So I've decided in this episode to just devote it to story time. Let me tell you some stories. This is the Iroquois Lock in the St. Lawrence Seaway. It's pretty typical of the locks in the St. Lawrence Seaway. Pleasure crafts are expected to report to the pleasure craft dock, which is in good condition, in sufficiently deep water, and secured. You're expected to go up to shore, find the blue phone, call into traffic control to let them know you're there, go to the credit card machine and pay your fare, and then wait for them to call you in. It's the same in every single lock. All pleasure craft must report to the pleasure craft dock and call in on the blue phone. The St. Lawrence Seaway Corporation generally does a very good job of maintaining a very professional standard, except for the American locks at the Eisenhower locks. I have a little complaint about them. So this video concerns itself with the section of the St. Lawrence Seaway between Brockville and Cornwall. The little red dot on the left, that's the Iroquois lock that you just saw in the video. And the little red dot closer to Cornwall, that's the American locks, the Eisenhower locks. So that video that you saw was in the morning, and that was at the Iroquois lock, and here's what it looks like on Google Maps. And if we use a satellite view and we sort of zoom in, it gives you an idea of the waters. But of course, on the boat, we never have access to that information. We're always looking at a chart plotter. And the chart plotter shows you something like this. With an 8-foot keel, I'm going to be pretty cautious about the depths that I go into. And you can see the pleasure craft dock with no markings or depth. We approached it slowly and cautiously, but we had 10 feet of water. We were fine. This was about our 9th lock. We were familiar with the routine. We knew where the pleasure craft dock was, and we trusted the Seaway Corporation that in directing us there, it would be a safe place for us to tie up. We'd sort of become conditioned to the routine, you could say.
Wild child. Whoa. Yeah, nice. She looked like a shark. She cannot wait to go. So we have an hour and a half to wait, right?
Yeah, I just spoke to the lock master. We're at Iroquois Locks. He told me that the drop today in the lock is only going to be a 10-inch difference in the water levels. You pay by credit card at the machine, and he told us the Coast Guard ship is downbound. He has another ship waiting to come upbound. In about an hour, hour and a half, he'll give us a call on VHF 68, and then we'll have a chance to go downbound. It doesn't look like the lock-through procedure takes very long to fall 10 inches, so it's like 5 minutes to pass through the lock.
There you go.
The next one is a double lock, the Eisenhower locks on the American side, and he said port side tie-up, and we'll see how it goes from there, how to pay.
Okay, great. So in the meantime,
So on a gloomy day, sometimes in the rain and sometimes just under gray skies with very little wind, we sailed and motor sailed the 20-something miles from the Iroquois lock to the Eisenhower lock and arrived there sort of around dinner time later in the evening. We passed through 20-something miles of narrow channel and shallow waters, constantly looking for buoy markers and making our way between the red and greens as we went. So with faith in the St. Lawrence Seaway Corporation, we follow the buoys and mark channels until our chart plotter starts to show us this. We make our way in towards the Eisenhower locks. As WildChild, depicted in blue, is motoring its way towards the Eisenhower lock, we notice that there's a sailboat on the north side that appears to be at anchor. We see a guy with no shirt on and stuff sprawled all over the deck, and we thought, guy must be tired and he must have been looking for a safe place to anchor. We thought no more of it, and we continued our way looking for the pleasure craft dock. The information that we had said that the pleasure craft dock was on the north side of that break wall. You can see it there, and all pleasure craft must report to the pleasure craft dock to call in. And on the end of that pier, there's a great big giant sign in the distance declaring exactly that. All pleasure craft must report to the pleasure craft dock and call in. So we did. Now I'm at the helm motoring in, and I'm looking at that information thinking, oh geez, chart plotter tells me it's kind of shallow, but there's no way the Americans would direct us into a dock if they knew full well that it was too shallow to accommodate sailboats. They wouldn't do that, would they? Well, it turns out, yes they would. You can see from the satellite photos that it's actually really shallow around there. And the lock authorities knew full well that it had been silted in all year. In fact, they knew that it was only 5 feet deep. That sailboat we thought was at anchor actually was stuck. He was trying to motor his way to the pleasure craft dock outside the channel to avoid a ship, and he'd got stuck. He's been there all day. The guys at the lock said, yeah, we feel bad for the guy, but he's not the first one. We've seen dozens of sailboats get stuck out there trying to get to the pleasure craft dock. Oh well, what a shame. But all of this information is completely unbeknownst to me. I don't have access to the satellite photos, and I didn't know all this. So I'm looking at my chart plotter, sort of looking at the depths, thinking, oh geez, they must know what they're doing. They must have dredged out a path. As long as I stay really close to the piers, stay in the area that appears light blue, I should be able to make it. They wouldn't tell me to go there if they knew that it couldn't accommodate sailboats, would they? So I motor in really slowly at 0.3 knots, no sails, gently probing forward with the forward scan and the depth sounder. I get right near the end of that pier, and I just decide, nope, I'm not risking this, too bad. I put it in neutral, I put it in reverse, and I yell up, honey, no, we're not doing it, it's too dangerous. I put it in reverse and I try to back out. So the thing is, sailboats don't really steer very well in reverse, and because of the wind, the ass end starts going in a little bit to the north side, a little more than when we came in, and then thunk, that it happens. We land in the bottom. Our keel hits the bottom, and now we're stuck. Problem is, I have no room to go forward, I have no room to go backwards, I have no way to turn around, and I'm not sure how to get out of this. Michelle calms me down, and slowly we go forward to get out of the muck, and then with him standing on the nose of the boat, he puts his hands on the pier and slowly, just using his hands, works the nose of the boat out towards the open channel, and we're able to use the motor to get out. As the captain of the boat, we work so hard to never commit the sin of grounding our boat. And I have to say, curse the Americans for setting that trap up for us and for all the sailors out there. It is unbelievably unprofessional of the Eisenhower Lock to leave that situation as is and know about it and not rectify it. Pox on them, but hopefully I can be forgiven as a captain for committing the horrifying sin of touching bottom. So, the beer foam story. Again, there's no direct video footage of this. As many of you know, it's a tradition at sea that after a long and stressful day, at dinner time, maybe you reward yourself with a beer. But did you guys know that beer can get foamy? So we'd been sailing all day along coastline that looks a lot like this. This footage was taken during that day. You can see that it's kind of gray and overcast. There's nothing spectacular, scary, or hard about it. It was just all day like this. There was severe storms expected that night, sometime in the middle of the night. We were going to get walloped and walloped hard. So by sunset, somewheres along a coast like this, we just had to drop the hook anywhere as we could. So you guys know what it's like. You've been sailing for 12 hours in squirrely winds, and you get tired, and eventually by the end of the day we had managed to set the hook precariously on some rock, at the edge of shoreline, and after dark we went down below to have dinner and relax with a beer. And then after that we went to bed. At around 3 a.m. that storm came, and it started to come up nasty. We both woke up, got dressed, and were up on deck in the dark. Well, there's not much that I can show you. It's 4 a.m. We're on an anchorage on the southern shore of the St. Lawrence River, and it's a very exposed and unprotected anchorage. Sorry about the motion, but the boat is not holding still. So, although I have no other footage of the actual wind and wave conditions from that night, rest assured it was much worse than even this. We were rolling up and down, only 10 knots of wind, and we were probably going up and down 4 or 5 feet. And after a couple of hours in those conditions, that beer in my stomach, it got shaken up enough to create a foam or a head inside my body. I actually had to run down below to vomit. But I wasn't seasick. I puked up pure beer foam. Think about it. How much do you have to shake up the human body to make the beer in their stomach from hours ago foam up into a head like this enough to force them to vomit? It's kind of a terrible night, and I didn't drink beer after that.